Grief. The word itself is heavy. It lands on the heart like a stone, a universal language spoken through tears and silence. No one escapes its classroom. It is a shadow that sooner or later falls across every path, a sorrow that visits every home. We don't get to choose if we will grieve, but we do get to choose how we will live before grief arrives. The way we build our relationships today profoundly shapes the nature of the sorrow we will feel tomorrow. Grief is not a monolithic experience. It comes in different shades, different weights. Some grief is heavy with the ache of loss, yet lightened by the sweet memories of a life well lived and love freely shared. Other grief is compounded, a double burden of loss and regret. Imagine two different scenes of mourning. In one, there is sadness, yes, tears fall freely. But through the sorrow, there is also a current of peace, a quiet assurance that rests on a foundation of love and faith. The memories shared are of laughter, forgiveness, and open hearts. The goodbyes were said not just at the end, but every day through acts of kindness and words of affection. This is what we might call good grief. It is a pain that is clean, a wound that, though deep, is not infected with the poison of what-ifs and if-onlys. It is the natural, heartbreaking sorrow of separation, but it is not a sorrow without hope. It is a testament to a life and relationships that were nurtured with care. Now picture a different kind of sorrow. This one is jagged and raw. It is a grief tangled with the thorns of unresolved conflict, unspoken words, and fractured relationships. The tears that fall are bitter, salted not just with loss but with the heavy weight of regret. The silence is filled with the deafening roar of things left undone, apologies never made, and love never fully expressed. This grief is a storm, relentless and unforgiving. It is the anguish of looking back and seeing a landscape of missed opportunities and relational rubble. This is a grief that haunts, a sorrow that carries the heavy chains of a troubled past into a desolate present. The loss is not just of a person, but of the chance to make things right. The contrast between these two portraits of pain is stark. It is the difference between a sad but beautiful sunset and a sudden violent storm that leaves destruction in its wake. Both involve the end of a day, the end of a life. But one is marked by the peaceful glow of a legacy of love, while the other is defined by the chaos of unfinished business. The loss is the same, but the experience of the grief is worlds apart. It teaches us a powerful lesson. The quality of our living directly impacts the quality of our grieving. The seeds of peace we sow today will one day yield a harvest of comfort when sorrow comes to call. Consider the story of a young woman named Cindy. At just 32 years old, her life was a testament to a vibrant and deeply rooted faith. She didn't just believe in God, she lived as if He was walking beside her every moment. Her days were filled with purpose, not because she was accumulating worldly success, but because she was investing in the hearts of those around her. Her family knew, without a single doubt, that they were cherished. Cindy made it a point to express her love, not just on special occasions, but in the ordinary, everyday moments. Her life was a constant stream of affection, encouragement, and grace, flowing out to everyone she knew. When Cindy's life on Earth came to a sudden end, the wave of sorrow that hit her family was immense. The shock was real, the pain was sharp, a light had gone out of their world, and the emptiness she left behind was vast and deep. Yet, as they gathered in their grief, something remarkable happened. Through their tears, they found a profound sense of comfort. There were no lingering questions about her love for them or theirs for her. There were no bitter arguments left unsettled, no harsh words hanging in the air. Their relationship with her was whole and complete. They had the peace of knowing they had left nothing important unsaid. Their comfort was anchored in something even deeper than their good relationship. It was anchored in Cindy's unwavering faith. They knew where she was. They knew that her belief in Jesus was not just a comforting idea, but the very foundation of her existence. They had talked about it openly and often. Her faith was not a private, hidden thing. It was a shared treasure within the family. This shared hope became their lifeline in the storm of their loss. They grieved, but not as those who have no hope. They mourned her absence from their lives, but they celebrated her arrival in her eternal home. Their grief was laced with an unshakable peace. Cindy's story shows us what good grief can look like. It is not the absence of pain, but the presence of peace within the pain. It is the beautiful, bittersweet sorrow that comes from losing someone with whom you have a right relationship. Her family could mourn her death without being tormented by regrets about her life. They had the assurance of her love and the certainty of her faith. They offer us a powerful example. Living a life of open communication, expressed love, and shared faith is the best preparation we can make for the inevitable day when we must say goodbye to someone we love. Now, let us turn to a far more ancient and tragic story, one that echoes with a different kind of sorrow. King David, a man described as being after God's own heart, experienced a grief so profound it threatened to shatter him completely. His son, Absalom, had led a rebellion against him, seeking to steal his father's throne. The conflict was brutal and personal, tearing the kingdom and the royal family apart. When the news came that Absalom had been killed in battle, David's response was not one of relief for his secured kingdom, but of utter devastation for his lost son. His cry was a raw, unfiltered expression of a father's broken heart. "Oh, my son Absalom! My son Absalom! If only I had died instead of you! Oh, Absalom, my son, my son!" This was not the cry of a victorious king. It was the wail of a father drowning in regret. David's grief was heavy, not just with the loss of his child, but with the weight of a fractured relationship. He likely saw the seeds of his son's rebellion in the soil of his own past failures. His own sins, his fractured family life, and the unresolved conflicts had created a distance between him and his son. Absalom died a rebel, estranged from his father, and it seemed, from his father's God. David's grief was a storm of if-onlys. Think of the ghosts that must have haunted David in that moment of loss. He might have remembered his own moral failings, the poor example he had set. He might have replayed every argument, every moment of discipline that was too harsh or too lenient. He might have agonized over the love he failed to show and the guidance he failed to give. Absalom's death was not just a loss, it was a final, irreversible confirmation of their broken relationship. There would be no more chances to reconcile. No opportunity to say, "I'm sorry." No hope of bringing his son back to a path of faith. This is a grief steeped in the bitter poison of regret. David's lament serves as a stark warning. It shows us that unresolved conflict and relational distance can turn grief into a form of torture. The pain of losing a loved one is hard enough, but the pain of losing someone with whom you are at odds is a uniquely devastating experience. It is a sorrow compounded by guilt and a sense of personal failure. David's story powerfully illustrates that it is not enough to simply love our family in our hearts, that love must be demonstrated through forgiveness, humility, and a constant effort to maintain open and honest relationships, lest we find ourselves one day weeping not just for our loss, but for our regrets. The stories of Cindy's family and King David present us with a clear choice. They are two paths, and the one we walk today determines the landscape of our grief tomorrow. We cannot avoid loss, but we can strive to avoid regret. The key is to live with intentionality, to build our relationships on a foundation so strong that it can withstand even the earthquake of death. This begins with a simple yet profound shift in our priorities. It means consciously choosing to put the glory of God and the good of our loved ones ahead of our own selfish desires, ambitions, and pride. It's about living for a legacy, not just for the moment. So what does this look like in practice? First, we must talk about the things that matter most. Discuss your faith in Christ with your family. Don't let it be the elephant in the room. Share your hopes, your beliefs, and the source of your strength. Let them know the foundation upon which you stand. This conversation is the greatest gift you can give, offering a shared hope that transcends even the finality of death. Let your faith be a known commodity, a source of comfort they can draw upon when you are no longer there to offer it yourself. This is an inheritance of eternal value. Second, make love a verb. Don't assume your family knows they are loved. Tell them and show them every single day. The words "I love you" should be as common in our homes as hello and goodbye. Back up those words with actions, with patience, with kindness, with a listening ear. Put down the phone, turn off the television, be present. These small daily investments of love build a treasure trove of beautiful memories that will become a source of immense comfort when grief arrives. Don't let a single day pass where your love is a matter of assumption rather than a matter of fact. Finally, we must resolve our conflicts. Pride tells us to hold grudges. Humility calls us to seek peace. When arguments happen, be the first to apologize. Settle your disputes quickly. Don't let bitterness take root and create a chasm between you and someone you love. This may require a humble confession and a willingness to forgive. It is far better to swallow your pride today than to be choked by regret tomorrow. Let us choose to live in such a way that if our time or the time of a loved one ends suddenly, Our final legacy is one of peace, not of unfinished business. Let's build relationships that lead to good grief, a sorrow that is softened by the sweet assurance of love shared and a hope that is certain.